This is the main news from Korea. The domestic stock market is under bearish pressure due to the sell-off by foreigners at the beginning of the trading session. It is interpreted that the U.S. stock market closed lower last night due to vigilant sentiment in the U.S. Consumer Price Index and unrest in the semiconductor industry. Accordingly, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix are also showing a decline of 2% and 3%, respectively. As of 9:09 a.m. on the 10th, the KOSPI index was trading at 2,487.98, down 15.48 points, 0.62%, from the previous trading day. On the day, the index fell 0.39% to 2,493.70, giving up the 2,500 line. Currently, foreigners have an 119.6 billion won selling advantage in the stock market. Individuals and institutions are net buying 71 billion won and 38.9 billion won, respectively. Among the top 10 stocks by market cap, SK Hynix is down more than 3% and Samsung Electronics is down more than 2%. Naver and Kakao are also down more than 1%, while LG Energy Solutions, LG Chem, and Kia are also down slightly. On the other hand, Samsung Biologics, Samsung SDI, and Hyundai Motors are rising slightly. In the New York Stock Exchange last night, as Micron downgraded its earnings guidance, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix were also bearish. According to Market Point on the 10th, at 9:17 a.m., Samsung Electronics was trading at 58,801, down 2% from the previous trading day. SK Hynix is also trading at 92,001, down 3.26%. The reason that domestic semiconductor stocks all fell on that day was largely due to Micron's revised guidance in the U.S. stock market last night. Micron adjusted its guidance, saying that it expects free cash flow to become negative due to weakening demand in the PC and gaming industries. As a result, the stock price fell 3.74% from the previous trading day. In addition, as the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index fell 4.57%, the decline was transferred to other semiconductor companies. Nvidia, which previously lowered its guidance, fell 3.97% and Western Digital fell 2.67%. Nvidia, minus 3.97%, Intel, minus 2.43%, and AMD, minus 4.53%, also showed weakness. Korea Investment and Securities announced that the trading system, which has been suspended since the market close on the 8th due to a problem with the power supply to the headquarters, will be restored before the opening on the 9th. According to Korea Investment and Securities, access to the home trading system, mobile trading system, an official website has been suspended since around 4 p.m. the previous day. After the close of the regular market, access failure occurred, but after-hours trading and overseas stock trading were stopped overnight. The company said that the use of the trading system was suspended while conducting an emergency system inspection due to the unstable power supply to the computerized machine room of the headquarters. An official from Korea Investment and Securities said, it took a long time to arrange a generator to supply power. Hanwha Securities said it would compensate the losses of investors who suffered damage due to the computer failure. In a notice on the same day, Hanwha Securities said, we will receive and review damages caused by inconvenience caused by system use by August 12 and take action in good faith. Record-breaking heavy rain fell in 115 years in the metropolitan area, including Seoul, and reports of car flooding were pouring in. According to the insurance industry, the number of vehicle flood damage cases reported to major insurance companies such as Samsung and Hyundai on the 9th reached 4,000. The estimated damage alone is 55.9 billion won. Based on the reporting rate of these large insurers, the total damage to the 12 insurance associations is estimated at 4,791 cases, and the amount of damages amounted to 65.86 billion won. In particular, as flood damage is concentrated in the Gangnam area of Seoul, where there are a lot of expensive foreign cars, the damage is expected to increase even more. An insurance industry official said, unlike previous flood damage that occurred nationwide, this damage was concentrated in some areas of Seoul. A flooded car can be compensated for damage if it is subscribed to the own vehicle damage collateral or own vehicle special contract of auto insurance. Victims need to check the flood damage and file a claim with their insurance company. Compensation is available in cases of flooding while parking in the parking lot, damage to the vehicle due to typhoons or floods, or damage to the vehicle due to being swept away by water while passing through a flooded area. The insurance coverage rate for own vehicle damage in Korea is 71.4%, and the industry believes that most of the vehicle owners who have suffered flood damage will be compensated for the damage. However, we do not compensate for items left in the car. KEPCO is expected to post an operating loss of more than KRW 5 trillion in the second quarter. The operating loss in the first half alone will exceed 13 trillion won, the largest among domestic companies. The problem is that the operating loss in the third and fourth quarters is expected to expand further, resulting in an annual operating loss of around 30 trillion won. According to FN Guide, a financial information company on the 9th, KPOP sales and operating loss for the second quarter expected by domestic securities companies by the end of last month were 14,832.8 billion won and 5.37 trillion won in operating loss. The operating loss in the second quarter was down from 7.786 trillion won in the first quarter, but it is similar to the operating loss of 5,860.1 billion won last year. In the third quarter, the size of the deficit is expected to increase further. Securities companies expected an operating loss of 4.87 trillion won in the third quarter, a slight decrease from the previous quarter, due to the effect of the electricity rate hike in July. An official from KPOP said, the electricity purchase price is expected to increase significantly as gas rates for power generation surged 36% from last month in August. The number of employed people increased by more than 800,000 last month compared to a year ago, showing an increase for the 17th month. However, the rate of increase has slowed for 2 consecutive months. While the daily recovery trend continues, there are concerns over the continued recovery of employment, as there are many uncertainties such as high inflation, external conditions, and the respread of COVID-19. According to the July 2022 employment trends announced by the National Statistical Office on the 10th, the number of employed people last month was 28,475,000, an increase of 826,000 from the same month of the previous year. The increase in the number of employed persons is the largest since July 2000, when 1.03 million people were employed. The number of employed has increased for the 17th month compared to the same month last year. However, the rate of increase slowed for 2 consecutive months following 841,000 last month. The employment rate was 62.9%, up 1.6 percentage points from the same month last year. This is the highest level as of the same month since the monthly statistics were compiled in July 1982. The unemployment rate was 2.9%, down 0.3 percentage points during the same period. The employment rate for those aged 60 years old was 69.1% from the OECD Comparative Standard of the Organization for Economic Cooperation, OECD, 15, which rose by 2.0 percentage points during the same period. By industry, the number of employed increased by 176,000 and 130,000 in manufacturing, health, and social welfare services, respectively. The information and communication industry also increased by 95,000. On the other hand, in the business facility management, business support, and rental service industries, the number of employed decreased by 25,000. Financial and insurance businesses also lost 21,000 jobs. The number of those employed in the finance and insurance industries has been on the decline for the 7th consecutive month due to the expansion of non-face-to-face transactions. By age group, the number of employed increased in all but 40s. The increase was the largest among those in their 60s and over, with 479,000. It was followed by 194,000 people in their 50s, 95,000 people in their 20s, and 62,000 people in their 30s. On the other hand, the number of employed people in their 40s decreased by 1,000 from the same month of the previous year. Statistics Korea analyzed that the number of employed people in their 40s decreased in the financial and insurance industries. Last month, the number of employed people in Busan increased by only 4,000 compared to a year ago, showing a clear stagnant phenomenon. Compared to the 43,000 in February, the largest increase this year, it shrank to a 10th level in just 5 months. The number of employed people in their 40s, 50s, and 20s, the key age of economic activity, decreased, while those over the age of 60 increased by more than 20,000. The increase in temporary workers was more than double that of regular workers. According to Statistics Korea on the 10th, the total number of employed people in Busan last month was 1,689,000, an increase of only 4,000 by 0.2% from 1,685,000 in the same month last year. The number of new COVID-19 cases crossed 150,000 again in about 4 months. The number of patients with severe cases exceeded 400. As hospital beds were quickly exhausted in non-metropolitan areas, the authorities raised the risk level in non-metropolitan areas from medium to high. The authorities, which lowered the daily maximum number of confirmed cases from 280,000 to 200,000 last week, hinted at the possibility of a revision. The Central Quarantine Countermeasures Headquarters announced on the 10th that there were 151,792 new confirmed cases. It is the first time in 118 days since 195,387 on April 13 that the number of daily confirmed cases exceeded 150,000. 1,895 more than the previous days 149,897 and 31,870 26.6% more than 119,922 during the same period last week. The cumulative number of confirmed cases is 20,845973, or 40.4% of the total population of Korea. As the number of confirmed cases increased, the number of cases of severe illness on that day surpassed 400 with 402. On the 4th, the number exceeded 300, and in 6 days, it surpassed 400. As of 5 p.m. the previous day, the hospital bed utilization rate for critically ill patients was 37.8% and that for moderate patients was 44.8%. The day before, the utilization rates of semi-severe beds in Seoul and Gyeonggi were 69.7% and 72.8%, respectively. In Busan, the utilization rate of beds for severe cases was 60.8%, and the utilization rate of beds in Daejeon, Gyeongnam, and Gangwon also exceeded 50%. Because of this, the authorities raised the weekly risk of COVID-19 in non-metropolitan areas from medium to high. An article was posted that the chicken ordered for delivery came with cigarette butts and is controversial. On the 9th, on an online community site, a netizen posted a picture of chicken delivered with a message that he received a fried chicken with cigarette butts from a small franchise chicken restaurant in Masan, Gyeongsang Namdo. In the photo, cigarette butts showing the brand logo are fried along with the chicken ordered. The author said, "I called the store to argue and got a refund through the delivery app, but I am so upset with the store's attitude. He told me to try it," he said. At that time, the female president told the author, "Enjoy it." The author said, "When asked how to eat, I received an absurd answer, take it off and enjoy it." The author said, "I told the female president to report it to the Food and Drug Administration, so we would talk about it when the results came out, but he got angry and said, 'You mean you shouldn't do business with us?'" In the end, after seeing the chicken in person, the male president admitted that the author's claim was correct, but he did not apologize properly. The author, who was again angry at this attitude, said he would report it to the head office and the Food and Drug Administration, but the male president said, "Young people shouldn't live like that." The author said, the head office said that the branch managers strongly insisted that they did not smoke and that they would collect the chicken and cigarette butts in question. Then, I couldn't believe it, so I told the Food and Drug Administration to check it. I found it after I ate chicken. Does that make sense in this day and age? He continued, "I, the victim, are waiting for a call. It's stressful and frustrating," he added. A record heavy rain of up to 400 mm fell in the central region for the first time in 80 years, leaving 9 people dead and 7 missing. Accidents such as dying after entering a house full of water continue to add to the pity. In Sokogu on the night of the 8th, a man and woman in their 40s who were passing through the street were swept away by a backwater from a manhole and disappeared. The two are siblings, but it is known that the older sister was first swept away by the torrent and was sucked into the sewer, and the younger brother who was trying to save them also fell together. The family of the missing person had no choice but to watch it through CCTV with a bewildered expression. In Dongjakgu, where it rained the most in Seoul, there was also an unfortunate accident where a woman in her 70s went into a house full of water to save a cat and died because she could not get out. In addition, a ward office worker in his 60s who was cleaning up a fallen roadside tree in the heavy rain died of an electric shock. What will happen if China invades Taiwan and US forces intervene? Simulations showed that the United States and Taiwan would win the war, but would suffer a huge blow. According to Bloomberg News on the 9th, the U.S. think tank Institute for Strategic and International Studies is currently conducting a simulation to predict the outcome of a situation in which China invades Taiwan in 2026 for armed unification and the U.S. responds militarily. The use of nuclear weapons was not considered. It was assumed that Japan would make more active use of U.S. bases in its own country, but would not directly intervene unless the mainland was attacked. 18 simulations out of a total of 22 have been conducted so far. As a result, in most simulations, the US and Taiwan were shown to defeat China, but it was analyzed that they would inflict huge damage. In most, if not all, scenarios, Taiwan can repel a Chinese invasion, CSIS senior advisor Mark Kansium said. The results showed that Chinese missiles sank many US and Japanese surface fleets and destroyed hundreds of moored aircraft on the ground. The most recent result is that the United States lost more than 900 fighters and attack aircraft in 4 weeks. In response, Kansium said, "The reason why the US forces are losing so much is that they cannot conduct systematic operations to break down the defenses of the Chinese forces until they get close. We have to use military force to respond," he said. The success or failure of the land battle depends entirely on the Taiwanese army. It was observed that it would not be easy for the Chinese military to conduct an amphibious operation, as an amphibious operation would not be easy. All simulations so far have shown that China can establish a bridgehead, but in most situations it cannot be expanded, said Kansium. Power is limited. In the remaining 4 simulations, scenarios in which China is in an advantageous position, such as the US delaying military aid to Taiwan or Japan adopting strict neutrality, will be mainly considered. The final result will be released in December. Attorney Minyoung Zhang, who is considered a key person in the Daejeongdong development lobby and preferential treatment allegations and is considered a link with the superior, was summoned and investigated as a witness. Attorney Zhang is the person who was pointed out as having directly received the relevant approval from Democratic Party lawmaker Lee Jae-myung, who was the mayor of Songnam at the time of the Daejeongdong development project. According to the legal community, the 3rd Division of Anti-Corruption Investigation at the Seoul Central Prosecutor's Office summoned lawyer Jung as a witness on the 9th to investigate. Lawyer Jung is one of the so-called Daejangdong 4 and is a college junior of lawyer Nam Wook, who has been involved in the development of Daejangdong since 2009. He joined Songnam Urban Development Corporation through the introduction of attorney Nam in November 2014 and worked in the strategic business team, which was in charge of core tasks such as drafting guidelines for business competition and selecting private companies. Attorney Zhang was handed over to trial on charges of writing a public offering guideline that maximized private interests and reduced the profits of the corporation at the request of private businesses in Daejangdong while working for the corporation. He was indicted on charges of receiving about 3.5 billion won for damage to Songnam-do construction and driving profits to private businesses. Attorney Jung has been pointed out as a person who played a role in connecting Songnam City's upper line and the Daejangdong gang in the process of the Daejangdong Development Project. At the time of the Daejangdong Development Project, accountant Kim Min-geology, who worked for Songnam Province, testified that attorney Zhang visited the Songnam mayor's office several times and delivered reports on Daejangdong. In the course of the trial, there was also a testimonial from an employee of the construction company that lawyer Zhang received the approval of the document separating the Daejangdong development and the parkization of the first industrial complex from Rep. Jae Myung Lee, who was then the mayor of Songnam. After the reorganization of the investigation team, the prosecution started a re-investigation on the Daejangdong allegation, and is looking at it again from the beginning of the Daejangdong case. In the past, we are investigating the indigenous people of Daejangdong and public officials who were in charge of their early work. In particular, the prosecution is said to be paying attention to how the Daejangdong project was promoted as a combined development method that combined the Daejangdong site development project with the Songnam City Industrial Complex 1 parkization project in 2012 after Mayor Lee Jae-myung took office, but was separated in 2016. Prosecutors are suspecting that such a decision was made in accordance with the wishes of private contractors to expedite the development of Daejangdong. Thank you for watching today. Please like and subscribe.